So this is the executive crew. How are you doing today?
We're doing good.
Good. Oh, come on, now don't be stuffy now, executives. How are you doing?
Great.
That's better. Good. Today, I want to talk to you about the gig economy. Now, if you don't know, a lot of people, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I say that. If you don't know, what I'm talking about is the rise and emergence of a freelance economy. And by the way, I am by no means the first person to talk about this, or am I the only person to talk about this. A lot of analysts are predicting a rise in the gig economy. The predictions that I've seen range anywhere from 35% to 50% by the end of next year. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this subject because it's sort of the reverse side of what my keynote is going to be about. And as a general rule, I talk about the gig economy in a very positive sense. I think it's a wonderful direction for society. I think it's a great opportunity for more individuals to lead fulfilling lives based on what they're capable of doing. But let's make no mistake about this. From a corporate perspective, from your perspective as a medium or large-sized business, I think this represents a threat to you, right? I mean, this morning I kind of came up with this sort of analogy for it, right? When you're a big business and you want to change directions, you're like a big ship. You kind of list slowly as you turn. Whereas the individual is nimble and mobile. They're like a little motorboat. They can kind of zip around quickly. Now, the advantage that the big players had was they could say, well, I'm a big ship. I can move a lot of freight. So as far as I'm concerned, this represents a threat to your business. And what's the solution? And the solution that I came up with is Newton's balls. In a village economy, there was somebody who built the shoes, and then somebody else did the laces, and somebody else built candles. And then you kind of helped each other out, and you traded and you bartered. Well, that's what this freelance gig economy, this is how it works. And the reason, why am I talking about this is because I'm living this. I am the living example of this, so I can tell you this is real. Double what I would earn in that normal period as an employee. So what would you do? Yeah, you forget looking for a job. I'm gonna go freelance. So I took all this extra money that I was getting and I invested in myself and I launched J.D. Evans Communications. From that, basically with that money, when I say I invested in me. I invested in myself. And this is important, right? Because this is the thing. This is what the agencies weren't doing for me. They weren't training me. They weren't upgrading my skills. Now I was earning the money and I was investing it in myself. And I was filling in all of the gaps that I didn't have in my skill set, namely social media, really on Facebook. I started to build out sales campaigns. And then you crack your first funnel and that's a rush. Right? All of a sudden you're no longer dependent on your organic network of peers and friends and family. All of a sudden, strangers, people that you don't know, are responding to an ad and booking a call with you. And it's exciting. And now, I was able to automate that and start hiring people and reinvest in myself. And that's when I launched BIYF Marketing. Now, BIYF Marketing technically is non-profit. It's not a monetized channel. I don't offer any businesses or services to it. Nor can I really draw a clear line about how this has helped me grow my business. It's very anecdotal, it's very organic. It's hard to explain how, you interview somebody and then that creates a connection. And then from that, they introduce you to somebody else. And somewhere down the line, eventually that leads to business opportunities. But I can tell you without a doubt, that has been huge. And there's nothing to it. I'm just giving free advice online. I would not be here on this stage today if it wasn't for that show. So again, from that, I took that from this growth, and now recently, about a month ago, launched the Marketing Summit Academy. Around the time that I launched BIYF Marketing, this article came out in Forbes. Advertising's newest enemy is the legion of freelancers the agencies laid off. And I said, yep, damn right. So there's lesson number 1 of the day for you guys. Don't create your own competition. I kind of touched on this a bit earlier, but I do want to kind of talk about what those advantages are, because I think it's very important that you as corporations understand what my advantages are so that you can maybe incorporate them yourselves and take advantage of them. So what is it? For now, I've got hugely reduced infrastructure costs compared to traditional agencies. Way lower maintenance costs. In fact, I should actually step back on that infrastructure cost. I mean, I'm working from home. My model is completely virtual, so I hire nothing but contractors. Okay. On top of that, though, here's the other big thing, and this is very much in line, in fact, again, with what Aileen was talking about, the mindset shift. And this is how I used to actually start all of my talks last year. I asked the question, how much of what you're doing is rooted in the industrial age model of doing things? And the answer is usually a lot more than you realize and you think. And the perfect example was when I started, when I was working, my wife and I were paying tons of money on childcare services. Well, now that I was working from home, we could reduce that cost. But it took me a couple of weeks. This is what we're talking about, that mindset shift. It took me a little while because I was ending my day at 3 and then I was all stressed out. I was like, oh, I'm losing 2 hours of my day. Until all of a sudden I was like, what the hell? Why? That's only because in my mind, I had this idea that a day is 9 to 5. And it didn't make sense, especially in the fact that now I'm dealing with people all around the world. I'm working with contractors in Singapore and Malaysia and all over the place. So it's actually quite convenient for me to do a little work in the evening. So as soon as I kind of said, that's fine, I'm done at 3, and I get to spend some time with my kids, and I get to cook them dinner. And then later on in the evening, after they go to bed, now I go back to work. Still putting in the same amount of effort. But it's that shift, right? So fewer salary employees. I have a global talent pool. I'm not beholden to just what I can find locally. I can find somebody in Bangladesh who might be just as good and even cheaper. And again, because I'm working with people all over the world, I can talk to a client during the day. In the evening, I can speak to somebody in Singapore. They're starting their day. I wake up the next morning. I send what they've delivered off to the client. They think I've pulled an all-nighter.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing better than this face-to-face, right? We'll never be able, you can't do that, even on a phone. If you can't do that, great, then a Zoom call, then at least you can hear somebody's tonality. Every step away from in-person is less personal. And so you need to use these tools, emojis, stickers, chatbots. This is the thing, I had a guest on my show a little while ago who had a client and they had let go of 20 of their customer service representatives and replaced them with chatbots. They were triaging all of the basic questions with the bots, and anything that the bots couldn't handle, then it went off to a real person. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm saying is, I'm in the room with the big kids here. That's business. Right? If there are automation, if there are tools and there are technologies that are going to give you an advantage and save you money, hell yeah, you should do it. Because if you don't, your competitors will, and they're going to save money. But what do you do with those people? Again, keep in mind what I said about not creating your own competition. The other warning that I want to make about this is you can humanize your technology as much as you want, but don't do it at the expense of dehumanizing your brand. You can't, as much as this technology is amazing, you're never going to remove the human out of the equation. Right? I mean, who cares about a bunch of bots talking to each other? At the end of the day, you need to connect with people in a real, authentic way. Otherwise, if you use this technology, it might be great, you might save a lot of money, but after a while, people want to know that there's a real person who actually is going to care about their concerns when they have them. I want to take an even further step back. I did the last 6 years, but I actually want to go even further back because again, this goes back to what I was saying at the top of this about the industrial age model and where we are today. It's done, right? The thing is it worked. It worked great for 200 years. Right? Our entire education system is designed to serve this model, right? You go to school, shut up, keep your eyes forward, pay attention, pick a major, get your degree, get your job. And that worked. That worked great for my grandparents' generation. When my grandfather immigrated to Canada, he worked for one company for his entire life. He was loyal to them, they were loyal to him. But what happened was that social contract has been broken. Nobody's loyal to anybody anymore. Businesses aren't loyal to their employees aren't loyal to their companies, consumers aren't loyal to companies anymore. Back then, in their generation, they would say, GE, oh, that represents quality. But today's consumer isn't really interested in that. There's generally, most things have a basic level of quality right now. So what's the distinguisher, the thing that makes the difference is your connection with them, whether they identify with you as a brand. So this is one way, though, I think, as businesses. It may take a little while, but if you put an emphasis on reestablishing that social contract, that's going to make a difference for you. The other thing about modern technology is that, it is amazing for sure. When I started out in this industry, the metrics that we had were very few and far between. We had impressions, we had reach. Aileen had a very eloquent way of saying what the traditional model, my simple way is this: it was like to throw shit at a wall, right? The thing about today, though, I find is that a lot of businesses now are obsessed with these metrics. And they forget about branding, right? It's just conversion. And I really believe that, unfortunately, you do so at the expense of at the expense of your brand reputation, the long-term value of your business. And this is a great example for me, Johnny Walker. During the war, it was conscripted, so they didn't need to advertise, but they did anyways. And they were the only spirits company to do so. And after the war, nobody could compete with them. And today, they're the largest spirits brand in the world, because they advertised when nobody else was. So it's important to keep that branding. My personal view is you're always branding. You're always thinking about that. And don't lose sight of what a brand is, right? It's an emotional connection. There's a lot more to it. When you think of Nike, that means something to you, right? That means sports and just do it. What do you represent to your customers? If you're just thinking transactionally and in conversion, it's going to be short term. You're not going to survive as well in the long term. So you need to think about your brand. Another thought that I wanted to bring out today, and this is especially because this is a fellow Canadian, Marshall McLuhan, and this is a thought, something that has resonated in the marketing industry for years. The medium is the message. I could probably spend an entire talk about just what does that mean. But really, what I want to do is this. I'm going to show you this. This is the first ever TV commercial. Hopefully this will play. I don't know if you hear the audio, but basically it's just a commentator saying, Volvo watches, best in the brand, whatever. It's kind of cute, right? Did you not sort of see the naivety of it, right? You have to put yourself back in that time frame. The biggest thing at the time would have been radio. And then after that, print advertising. This was a new medium and they didn't know what to do. So they took a poster and a radio ad, voice, and put them over top of each other. Not thinking, hey, this is TV, you can animate this, you can illustrate this. And eventually they figured it out. But the point is that's a very important thing to keep in mind, that Facebook does not equal YouTube, does not equal LinkedIn, does not equal Instagram, does not equal Twitter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Each of these platforms have their own essence, their own audiences, their own way that that audience, what appeals to them, and you need to tailor your messaging for that platform. Don't forget that the medium is the message. It's a little bit of input, and then it kind of comes back, and you're harnessing that energy. And that goes back to when I said, if there's ways that you can save money and divert your staff and use technology, do it. But I highly recommend that you find a place to use those people. Let them become the voice of your business. Let them become the brand ambassadors. That's essentially my message to you, is make everyone a brand ambassador. Thank you.